The Seattle Mariners have won their fourth straight series. This one over the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending National League champions. We'll talk all about this series and what happened in this series. We're then going to talk about a confirmed move that is happening to this Mariners roster starting today, Monday that you're hearing this. And we're going to finish it all up by talking about the Atlanta Braves series, the upcoming Braves series, who come into town on Monday night. The return of Jared Kelenic. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 82 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network, the K Kinney episode of the Hit It Here podcast, and I'm here with Joe. Joe, how are you?
I'm sad that the Sunday Creams did not get a dub.
Send them back
in the final. Yeah, just cut them. We don't need them anymore. Like we'll be fine without them. But it is what it is. There's a series win over the Diamondbacks. Overall, final game. There's plenty to talk about. Okay, there's going to be a lot to say. The Mariners pitching staff has been carrying us, and thank God, because we kind of needed it through a lot of the last couple of games that we've played. But looking back into the offseason, Colton, a lot of us could have had the foresight. A lot of us did have the foresight to be like, this Mariners pitching staff was going to be one of the best in all of baseball. And if you guys out there are some of the crazy little people that maybe put a bet down on either Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby being a Cy Young, you might have done it on BetOnline. And quickly, a word from BetOnline. Thank you to BetOnline for being the sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, so if you wanted to place a bet on, say, the NBA playoffs, the place to do it is with BetOnline. And if you head there today, you will get a 50% off your welcome bonus on your first deposit by using promo code Bleav. That is BLEAV. Like I said, the NBA playoffs, an exciting thing, an exciting time. BetOnline has you covered with up-to-the-date news, odds, stats, trends, lines, whatever you can think of related to betting analysis. BetOnline has you covered. And they've also got you covered for desktop and mobile access. So if you need some help figuring out what prop you want to bet on or which team to take in the playoffs, BetOnline, they can likely assist you in that regard. And say you're not super interested in betting on the NBA, well, MLB is in full swing. Regular season, games every single day. So there's nothing lacking in terms of betting and on BetOnline, because frankly, guys, the game starts on BetOnline. The Mariners continued to be undefeated in the City Connects in the first game against the Diamondbacks. They're the best jersey, according to a bunch of jersey trackers out there. So big dubs to what?
We only mentioned one jersey tracker here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that is Jake. You love to see its jersey tracker.
My bad. My bad, guys. My bad, Jake. Yeah, hearts. Smooches, bro. 6-1 win. The first game against the Diamondbacks, returning from the road trip back home. Mitch Haniger blew it wide open in the sixth inning with a grand salami. Pitching was good as well in the first game. Emerson Hancock, another good start, trying to fight his way, keep his name in the conversation for when Brian Wu is back, as he had another rehab start, went pretty well. I think 3 1/3, 4 1/3, something like that. Struck out, good stuff. Just overall good stuff from the Mariners for the majority of this weekend. But Colton, game one. Anything else you really want to touch on, or?
I mean, Josh Rojas with the leadoff ding dong now has had 2 of them in this series. He had 2 of them and a leadoff triple. When JP Crawford comes back, we'll talk a little bit more about JP here in just a little bit. But when JP Crawford comes back, I'm kind of okay with Rojas staying the leadoff guy.
That's my guy.
That's your guy, dude. Julio 2 for 4 in this game. Mitch Haniger with the big grand slam. Mitch Garver had a hit as well. Was his a home run?
It was a solo shot in the second inning.
Yeah. Which, I mean, just like he got lucky. Just kind of carried.
Yeah.
He hit it about 18 miles high. But
yeah.
We should talk a little bit about Mitch Garver here in a little bit as well. I know you did on the stream, but
yeah,
I have thoughts. So
it's something that needs to be addressed.
But yeah, I mean, pretty easy. What was it? 6-1?
Yeah.
6-1 win for the Mariners in game 1. And then in game 2, against the Arizona Diamondbacks, Slade Ciccone versus George Kirby. Oh, you know what we didn't mention for game 1 was Zach Gallen coming out early. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was something because the Mariners were just swinging at first pitch every time. And so his pitch count was low when he came out of that game. And then it ended up being, obviously, they got to the point where Mitch Haniger hit that grand slam. So, and that was after he was pulled. But, yeah, I mean, just rough for Zach Gallen, just kind of the way that all kind of transpired. But Slade Ciccone versus George Kirby in game 2. This was a pitching matchup like none other I think we've seen this year in terms of just how good both guys were at the start of this game. But George Kirby came out on top. He was popping 99 in the first inning, which I don't think I've ever seen George consistently throw 97 to 99 ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that throughout the first inning, Joe.
Yeah, I was the man who tweeted worrisome about George when Brian Wu was in and around the club Friday. And because we hadn't heard anything about, George's sore arm since he
and they're
left.
lined up.
Yeah, like we hadn't really heard anything. So I was like, that's kind of worrisome. And then he came out and said, "Shut up, idiot." He's pumping 99, like you said. That I don't know if I've seen more FU fastballs in the first inning than George Kirby threw. Like, bro, absolutely dominated the Diamondbacks in the first inning. And then, of course, like he was cruising. Not to say that he didn't cruise for the next 7 innings, but Christian Walker in the first at-bat of the second inning, I was not worried, but I was getting annoyed because it was like an 8 or 9 pitch at-bat, bro. Just kept fouling off pitches.
It was like 12.
Was it? Did it reach like double digits?
Yeah.
Okay. I eventually stopped paying attention because it was out of my hands at that point. Like I had any part in it before that. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, stop fouling off pitches. I'm getting pissed off. And he lines the ball back up the middle. I'm just like, what do you, like, stop, dude. Stop being annoying, first of all. And I was worried about George's pitch count at that point because it felt like after the first inning of dominance, and like if these guys are starting to foul off a bunch of pitches, we've seen that kind of be George's kryptonite in the past. But after really that one AB from Christian Walker, it was smooth sailing. 7 innings, 2 hits allowed, only 1 walk, and 12 punchies, a career high. Jake got to witness his career high in person, so that was very exciting for Jake to witness. A 3-1 win for the Mariners in game 2. You said Slade Ciccone is a good matchup. Yeah, dude, like the Mariners couldn't touch him. The Mariners had a lot of problems, whether it's they didn't have a lot of tape on him, they didn't have a good game plan against him, or whatever Ciccone was doing. He only threw 84 pitches through 6. Could he gone out there for the 7th? Maybe, but of course, that is not what ended up happening. And Ty France comes through, delivers the 2-run bomb in the 7th to give the Mariners some insurance, and Munoz locks it down. The rest of the game is history at that point. It was a good, clean 3-1 win overall. Like, not much else to say, I think, about game 2.
Probably the best start of George Kirby's career. Like you said, 12 strikeouts, 7 innings pitched. I mean, you could definitely say, the game against the Orioles on Felix Hall of Fame night, or the game at home versus the Astros in the playoffs. But just in terms of pure dominance, I think this was the most dominant we have ever seen George Kirby. And I mean, it was like, it didn't seem like there were any possibilities that the Diamondbacks were even going to come close to getting like hard, solid contact off of him. Again, just 2 hits. The Mariners only had 4 hits in this game, one of them being that big 2-run bomb by Ty France. Mitch Garver had hit a double, and then Luke Raley went 2 for 3 in this game with a bunt single, and then the base knockback. It was up the middle, right side, something like that.
I think it was center right side.
Scored the slowest man I've ever seen rounding third base, Mitch Garver, from second base. So, yeah, I mean, overall, good game for Luke Raley. Obviously, again, Ty France coming through with the big bomb and the bullpen locking it down. One final note here on George Kirby. I think it was Codify or someone that tweeted it. In the history of baseball, in terms of pitchers, strikeout to walk ratio with at least 25 games started, George Kirby, in the history of the game, has the highest strikeout to walk ratio ever with at least 25 games started. He is at 7 point something. The second best is Jacob deGrom at 5 point something.
Yikes.
So George is two strikeouts better than even the second best guy.
Yeah, I mean,
so if that
Pitching Ninja likened him to Greg Maddux, and that definitely will not be the last time that Kirby ever gets compared to Maddux based around his level of command. Like the pedestal is being set, and George lived up to every ounce of expectation in that second game start.
Moving on now to my ace, Joe. Your ace to my ace. Logan Gilbert, once again, shoved for the Mariners in game 3, but it ended up not being enough. Joe, tell me about it.
6 and a third, only 4 hits, 2 earned for Logan. 9 Ks, so keeping up the strikeout numbers pretty heavily there. The Mariners' offense, it's the tail of the tape. The Mariners' offense let down the pitching staff today. The entire series for the Diamondbacks, they were held to 5 runs across 3 games. They scored their most in the final game, 3. The Mariners only put up 2. They got 5 hits. They struck out, Colton, 15 times in Sunday's finale. Their strikeouts increased every single game going from the first one. So they struck out 6 times in game 1, 11 in game 2, 15 in the final game, 3 from Jorge Polanco, 2 from France, 2 from Garver. It's just you can't have it when you've got run scoring opportunities, bases loaded, no outs, a sac fly to left. Kind of a sac fly, not really. It was really shallow, but Lourdes Gurriel Jr. had to make a sliding catch on it. Rojas didn't tag.
Which was weird. I don't know why he wasn't tagging on that.
Feel
Like,
like
if it gets down, you're scoring either way.
Exactly. So he should have been tagging and going. I don't know if like it was a miscommunication from like ACTA or something on that play where he's just unaware. I don't know. It was a weird play regardless. Could have scored there, and then Garver grounds out into a double play right after that. Just and beyond that, the offense didn't really do anything. That was really their one chance. They blew it, and the Mariners allowed the Diamondbacks to stay in this game. Gino Suarez tied the game in the 7th. Yeah, a little golf clap. It was good seeing Gino get the standing O, all the fun, just the feel good moments, the good vibe moments, the entire series. The big hugs from Ty. He hugged Leo Rivas on his first major league hit being a triple, which was just Gino's just a good dude all around. We knew this going into the series that was going to be something that was gonna like the good vibes would stay, and tied the game. It was unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then Ketel Marte takes the lead, the double. Should they have pitched to him? Should they have brought in a lefty to face him instead of a righty? Like we'll never know what the right answer to go with is. All that happened was that Trent Thornton, who's been nails the majority of the series, been very good this year, and we've been kind of Trent Thornton deniers for the most part. We're a little like hesitant on his success, and I'll admit I don't trust him more than I've explained that I don't trust him as much as other guys. But he's proven me wrong pretty much every step of the way this year. Today just wasn't his perfect day. He only gave up 1 earned, but that's all it took because the Mariners offense did not do the pitching staff any favors in the final game.
Yeah, I blame, in terms of where the blame falls in this game, it's definitely on the offense. Like, you cannot blame the pitching at all. 3 runs should be something you can overcome on most nights. The Mariners lost. Okay, whatever. Like, you're going to lose 3-2 games once in a while. So, like, I'm not too stressed out about it. It's when it starts to snowball that it becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that, yes, the Mariners probably should have come out on top if they just would have converted a couple of runs with the bases loaded. Again, Mitch Garver is a guy who, wow. Like, I don't get it. I don't. How awful his numbers have been this year in every facet. I mean, you look at his baseball savant page and it looks terrible. You could tell me that's Brendan Ryan up there at the plate.
Oh God.
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, bro. Like, I don't know. Mitch Garver's a guy who there's something wrong right now. And maybe he's just not fully healthy after he had those back problems to start the year. That very well could be the case, but he's got to get it figured out soon because you can't have a guy play this poorly. Like, as your designated hitter, he can't be this bad. Especially when you have guys like Mitch Haniger who needs days off and could probably benefit from getting days at the DH spot, and Mitch has played pretty well. Fact of the matter is, Mitch Garver needs to figure it out, or he needs to give up that spot to Mitch Haniger until he does. Because, again, you can't... Mitch Garver's not a guy you can just keep on the bench. He's a guy who, when he is hitting, is very, very good. But he has not been that at all once this year. And again, it's been like a month. So I'm not worried. I'm not too worried about it. Ask me in a month and a half from now, maybe I'll be worried. But right now, I'm not too worried about Mitch Garver. It is slightly concerning to just see the fact that he is not hitting the ball as hard as he has in the past. I mean, he is swinging at pitches out of the strike zone more so than ever before. And maybe he's pressing. But overall, Mitch Garver, if he can get it going, I mean, him and Jorge Polanco, because Polanco's shown spurts where he looks like he's finally starting to figure it out, and all of a sudden he's swinging through every pitch again. So I don't know what's going on there with these guys. Maybe there's just time for them to get acclimated, but overall, the Mariners have won 4 series in a row. The pitching staff for the last 15 games has given up, the starting rotation has given up 2 or less runs in every single game for the last 15 games. And the Mariners are, 11-5? Or I'm sorry, 11-4 in those
Something
15
like that.
games?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone during the offseason was like, well, the Mariners aren't going to be able to win games with a great pitching staff because they can't win a 1-0 game when the other team scores only one, blah, blah. Well, here we are.
They're doing a
Guess
pretty
what?
good job of it so far.
The offense is doing the bare minimum, I'll admit, but the job is getting done for the most part. Now, would we like to see the offense come along? Absolutely. And a guy who maybe looked like a little bit of a spark plug when he first came up, Joe, was Jonathan Clase, who we just heard is being sent back down.
The Ham Swaggerty, it's back. He is being brought up from Tacoma, and Jonathan Clase has been optioned back down to get more regular reps. I don't necessarily hate this idea. I understand that it is a losing battle, I think, a lot of the times when trying to figure out who should be getting everyday reps, why these guys aren't, who's hitting, who's not, whatever. The idea for me is your infield positional depth is a little bit lessened now because of J.P. Crawford going on the injured list with a grade 1 oblique strain. Dylan Moore has now been moved into the primary shortstop role. Therefore, you need someone that is in a more super utility spot than a fourth outfielder. Haggerty can be your fourth outfielder, but he also might need to play some infield every once in a while. And that is exactly why I think this move was made. Luke Raley is a guy that they probably trust more so to, one, get it going than Jonathan Clase, who has seen, 20 ABs, if that. And he's just going to get more regular reps down in Tacoma. This will not be the last time we see Jonathan Clase this year, I would bet. It is more so a situation of, one, Luke Raley doesn't have options, so you can't send him down. You can't just send him packing. You can send down Jonathan Clase and get maybe similar production out of Sam Haggerty in more advantageous positions as far as utility goes. The question might be, why aren't they bringing up Samad Taylor? Samad Taylor's hitting like 200, Sam Haggerty's hitting 300. Full stop. That's pretty much it. Haggerty has been hitting in Tacoma. It is the PCL, so, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. We've seen Haggerty come up and get exposed. We've seen Haggerty come up and light the world on fire for 2-3 weeks. It is a situation where the Mariners, it's not like a desperation move, I would say. It's more so they are kind of fine-tuning this roster to fit their needs, what they need right now. If Crawford doesn't get injured, I don't think this move happens.
Mm-hmm.
End of the
I
day.
completely agree.
It's just a situation where they need someone that can also go out and play shortstop in a pinch if they need to. Rivas is still there. If he gets sent down, maybe when Canzone comes back, if he's back, say, in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, that'll probably be a situation there, and they run with Demo and Haggerty at short, which sounds terrifying. But, Rojas can play short, Urias can play short if you need them to. I'm not, this move's not that crazy in the grand scheme of things. If people are freaking out about Jonathan Clase going down, one, he wasn't getting playing time, so, what's the big idea? But in the final game, that was his first start in, I think, 3 games? 4, he hasn't been playing a ton. Got to start in the final game against the Diamondbacks. Did get a hit, but he also struck out twice and looked pretty silly in those 2 strikeouts. Got fooled by some changeups, and maybe the Mariners, maybe the Mariners just think he needs more time developing, which is never a bad thing. It's okay that he needs more time to develop, and maybe they're like, okay, we'll give Luke Raley the lion's share of what those plate appearances could be. See if he can get going. And kind of bide time until Canzone's back is really what all it boils down to.
And honestly, Luke Raley has looked good, over the past few games. Don't get me wrong. Yes, he's had his moments where he's looked pretty feeble, but he makes things happen. And obviously in, game 2, he had that bunt base hit. He had that little dribbler up the middle or to right field, wherever it was, that scored Mitch Garver. Luke Raley as a professional. He's been doing this for a little while now. He knows how to make things happen. So does Sam Haggerty. And right now, I have been a pretty big hater of Sam Haggerty's. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
But I think that what I hated was him getting exposed. I think that him as a player is fine. He brings a lot of speed on the bases. He brings a lot of versatility in the infield, and he's just a fun guy. I don't think that offensively he is better than Jonathan Clase. personally. But I think that he knows how to do it. And he doesn't necessarily need to play every day. Whereas Class A still has a chance to be an everyday player someday.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, but like he might. Haggerty doesn't. Haggerty will never be an everyday player again. Other than the one time that he was back in like 2021, 2022. He is a role player. He's a guy that will fill in for you. But other than that, he's a guy who's on your bench as a pinch runner or a defensive replacement late in games. That is the role of Sam Haggerty. Jonathan Class A, it's doing him no good to ride the pine, while Luke Raley and Mitch Haniger are getting days in left and right field. So I don't know. And again, we saw Class A not make a play that we both think he probably should have caught. He took kind of a bad route to a ball in the final game against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
It was Gino's double, right?
Yeah, I don't think that this is like a punishment for that or anything. Like I think this was going to happen regardless of that. But yeah, I don't know. I have no issues with this move. I think that Class A should be allowed to play every day, and he's just not going to get that chance in Seattle right now.
Looking ahead to the Braves series, Colton, we've got a lefty in game 1, righty in game 2, and then a lefty again in game 3. We've talked a little bit about Mitch Garver. The move with Sam Haggerty is obviously happening. For me, you start Mitch Garver game 1. He sees a day off in game 2. And your outfield in the second game is probably Haggerty in one, Raley in the other, and then Haniger DHing. I would say, because Haniger's, although I'm begging for him to get a day off at some point, he has looked more competent than Garver, who desperately needs a day off. So in this Braves series, yes, we've talked about Garver looking a little lost or looking, a little suspect. I don't see it happening in game 1. He'll probably be in the lineup against Max Fried, opposite Bryce Miller in this opening series with the Atlanta Braves coming to town. It's a lefty, Colton. Like, what are you thinking for as far as like maybe like a lineup is looking?
Yeah, I mean, I think Julio probably leads it off. Maybe they give Josh Rojas a day off to start this series and have Urias in there because Urias has looked pretty good recently. But I still think you bat Urias towards the bottom of the lineup.
Sure.
But I think probably Julio leading off, maybe Mitch batting 2, I think is what they did the other day. And then right-handed Cal batting 3, obviously with Sevy getting the day game against the Diamondbacks. I mean, Garver probably batting 4, although I don't love that. But I don't know. Again, I don't think you probably don't see Luke Raley in this game. Well, I don't know. You probably do, I guess, huh?
Because with Class A down, like,
unless you put Haggerty in left. Yeah, I mean, I think that Garver probably plays exactly like you said. He gets the second game off, but otherwise he plays in the game versus Fried and the game versus Chris Sale. I think that this series specifically, with how the Mariners' offense has looked recently against, I mean, in my opinion, the best team in baseball in the Atlanta Braves, just don't get swept. That's all I can ask. Don't get swept. Because with how bad the Mariners pitching staff is damn good, but the Braves offense is going to be the best the Mariners have faced all year. And it's not even close. Jared Kelenic is going to be back in T-Mobile, so see how that goes. But I would assume that the realist in me says the Mariners lose this series. Just being realistic.
It's not I don't think that's a harsh take. The Braves are the Braves. They're 19-7. They are the team that you're looking at like, how did my team perform against them? Did they look feeble? Great. They're the best team in baseball. That's kind of how that happens sometimes. Did they look competitive? Oh, that's a good sign. I will say we did get it wrong. Haggerty is better as a right-handed batter against left-handed pitching. So he will probably start against Max Fried and Chris Sale. I would assume he's out there in left, Haniger, and right would be my guess. Probably at the bottom of the lineup, though. Like, you're not going to bat him any higher than 8th.
Any higher than 9.
You think he's batting 9?
I'm not bad. Can we get a designated hitter specifically for him?
That's mean. Who would you have though? I don't think there's a better option on this major league roster right now. Stop it. You shut your mouth. You shut it right now.
So last year, Bryce Miller versus the Braves had a hell of a start. He pitched really well versus the Braves. I think that was his first start, against the Athletics. Okay, whatever. His second start, I believe, came against the Astros. I was like, oh, okay.
Still good.
And then all of a sudden he pitched against the Braves, and I'm like, damn,
Bro's
Like he's
still
got it
good.
going on. Couple of numbers here for the guys that are currently on Atlanta's roster. Acuna is hitting 333, and so he's 1 for 3 against him. Matt Olson 1 for 3 against him, and against Bryce Miller, and Austin Riley 1 for 3 against him. The rest of the lineup has not faced Jared Kelenic, Jesus Christ, has not faced Bryce Miller yet. Against Max Fried, Garver is 1 for 3. Luis Urias is 2 for 5.
A little hopium there.
Yeah, a little hopium. And Julio is 1 for 3 against Max Fried. Everybody else is 0 or has not seen him yet. So Fried's very good. He struggled a little bit this year. He has a 4.97 ERA and is 2-0. Whereas Bryce Miller obviously coming in with this 2.22 ERA. Like, again, this is a game. When it comes to games the Mariners should win, I'm not going to say they should win against Max Fried. It's probably game 2 that they should win.
Maybe.
But Max Fried, I think, is someone that the Mariners could line up pretty well against.
I will say he did, I think, just throw a complete game shutout, or like his last start against the Marlins. Max Fried kind of popped off. He's had 2 blow-up starts so far this year, but his last one against Miami, it was complete game shutout, 9 innings, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. He's never been a big strikeout guy. Hopefully that bodes well for the Mariners, who I think are leading all MLB in strikeouts as it stands, which is never a good sign. But fingers crossed that it's a competitive game. You don't want this game to get out of hand. I think Bryce Miller will keep you there, and you're able to scratch a couple off of Max Fried and maybe look to take the first game of this series before you go and face Reynaldo Lopez in game 2, who has an ERA below 1 so far this year.
Game 2, Reynaldo Lopez, Luis Castillo, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm sad now. Reynaldo Lopez, moving from being a reliever into a starter this year with the Braves, has been incredible. He has been far better than I could have ever imagined he was going to be. Just making that switch. But Luis Castillo has also been pretty good recently as well. So don't let Luis's 4.15 ERA fool you. He's been quite good recently. Again, it is the Braves. So it's not easy to just say, hey, he's going to go out there and carve up the Braves. Against Reynaldo Lopez, Cal Raleigh is batting 1,000.
Perfect.
In 1 at-bat.
Nice.
It was a home run.
Hell yeah.
Luke Raley is batting 333. It has 1 hit off of him. A home run.
Hell yeah.
Mitch Garver has 8 at-bats versus Reynaldo Lopez. Is batting 625 with 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and a 1.950 OPS. So maybe Mitch Garver plays in game 2.
I'm feeling the narrative that you're pushing out. You're pushing out right now. I can feel it. It's tangible.
Jorge Polanco versus Reynaldo Lopez. 1 for 13.
I'm gonna cut that. I'll cut that.
With a .077 batting average.
Ouch. Ouchies.
Julio 1 for 3 versus Reynaldo Lopez. Everyone else is either hasn't gotten a hit or hasn't faced him yet. Against Luis Castillo, Ronald Acuna Jr. is batting 400 in 10 at-bats. The only person on the Braves that has any home runs off of Luis Castillo is Marcell Ozuna from the Braves.
Boo.
Ozuna from the Braves. Boo this man. Otherwise, Orlando Arcia in 31 at-bats is hitting 355. Austin Riley's hitting 500 in 6 at-bats. Really nothing else there other than Acuna, Arcia, and Ozuna. Just a bunch of off Luis Castillo. So yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting game. I think that's probably the game the Mariners should win. Of all 3 of these, that's one I think I feel the most confident in. But I'm not sure exactly. Like I just know that Jared Kelenic going to come in and hit like 2 or 3 home runs.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the revenge series is going to happen.
Oh no! Yeah, people in stream are asking me if I think he's going to get booed, and
unfortunately, I think he will be. I don't think he should be.
And the thing that I just hope that doesn't happen is don't let it consume you, Mariners Twitter. Don't let any more flames get stoked from that situation. Just if people boo, so be it. Whatever. Move on. And if people don't boo, don't complain that they weren't booing. I can already feel the headache. If there was a start, like you're saying, game 2, maybe this is where Reynaldo Lopez, falls off the high horse. Maybe the Mariners will be the team that breaks him. All right. The Mariners offense in the big 2024 will will be the team to break through against Reynaldo Lopez. Book it now. Flash forward to the 9th inning when we've been no hit. All right.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Normally, this team makes bad pitchers look like Cy Young Award contenders, but nope. This guy, who's probably been one of the best pitchers in baseball so far this season, flip it and reverse it, baby.
The Mariners got this, baby. And we'll be going against in game 3 Chris Sale, opposite of Emerson Hancock in game 3. Another lefty. Haggerty will be in there. I had a thought. If Polanco doesn't receive a day off this series, one, I'll be upset if he's reeling. But get Rojas in there against a lefty, against one of the lefties. Why not? Give Polanco a day off. Have Urias start at third. Rojas will be at second. Just to see. Rojas is hot. Just to see. Not like there's any bias with my guy or anything, but what are you smiling about?
You think that maybe Polanco should have it off against Sale?
What are his career stats against Chris Sale? Let me know.
He's hitting 308 and 13 at-bats, the best average of anybody on the team.
Then he's sitting against Max Fried. Call it right now. Jorge Polanco is not playing in the game today that you're hearing this. If not, you will hear from my lawyers at Mariners admin. So
otherwise, the only other players that have even faced Chris Sale, which seems so weird to say, is Garver and Haniger. Both of them are 0 for 6.
Yikes. I mean, he's been hurt.
Yeah.
Bounced around like from the White Sox to the Red Sox, teams that we don't play a ton. I'm not super surprised by it. And he's in the injury thing with Chris Sale's always been around. But the final game there, if you've lost both the first two, again, you said it at the front, just don't get swept. That's all you got to do, I think, against this Braves team is just don't get swept at home. I'm begging you. Sale, he's got a 3.69 ERA on the year. Hancock, a 5.06, but I think that is very much so inflated. It's not relative to what he's pitched his last 2 times out. He's looked very good. He's looked very competent. Will he be able to limit the Braves to soft contact like he did the Arizona Diamondbacks? You better hope so. Because if not, it'll be a long day. Because he's not going to blow anything by you, but he will limit you to hard contact, make you ground into some double plays. He threw 3 double plays in the first 4 innings against the Diamondbacks. So Emerson Hancock seems like a guy that knows how to pitch around, but if he leaves something out over the plate, it's not going to blow past you. So keep limiting that hard contact. Hopefully you get something off Chris Sale, who, I mean, he's had his moments of volatility, I would say.
I would not want to be a left-handed hitter going up against Chris Sale.
Nope. The only lefty, the only one I would say maybe is Josh Rojas. But, Colton, I will let you have your narrative. Maybe Polanco, he should start in the final game against Sale. It's hard to argue when you've got such little sample size, especially when you might need a veteran presence to help you lift up the team in a game where it's pretty pivotal if you win. If you drop the first 2 against pretty tough pitching matchups, if Polanco's there, shown that he's had success against Sale, maybe he can instill some confidence in the rest of the team. Because this offense, it seems like it needs a little extra something. Because against the Diamondbacks, it was pretty few and far between. We've been kind of getting lucky, it feels like, with the homers coming in at the right time. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in the final game. But if we're relying on timely home runs against a potent Braves lineup and a pretty solid Braves pitching staff, we might be in for a long series.
And after this series, the Mariners have an off day, and they go on to face the Houston Astros down in Houston. And the Astros have been bad so far this year, but still, that's been a house of horrors for the Mariners. So, the Mariners are not out of the woods yet in terms of these tough series that they're playing, but so far they've fared pretty well against the 2 defending World Series
representatives.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Won both series against them. So now they're going on to face the Atlanta Braves, a team that I think will probably be in the World Series this year, and then the Astros. So big series still coming up for the Seattle Mariners, but that's going to do it here for episode 82 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by Bet Online, the accent episode of the Hit It Here podcast. And go Mariners.